Hi friends, and welcome back to my nest. As promised, I said I was going to quilt the autumn day quilt so y'all can see my technique on how I do my free motion quilting. Well, here it is. I am going to do that today. I have my glove. I do use these gloves. They are called the Machingers. I think I'm saying it right, but I'm not sure. But you guys know what I'm talking about. They come in small, medium, and large, and extra large. So if you have small hand and medium hand and large hand, they have one for everybody. So this is the quilt. This is the autumn day quilt that I will be quilting today. I put it on my machine already. And before I free motion quilt, I change my needle. I clean my machine inside to make sure everything is clean. I use the Juki machine. You have to oil your machine. I oil my machine as instructed. Clean my surfaces. Before I start, I put a new thread on, and I am using 100% cotton today. I also pre-wound a whole lot of bobbins so that way I don't have to stop. In case I run out of bobbins, I just have to pop one in. I've already pre-wound all this, ready to go. So I practice on this before I actually start free motion quilting on my actual quilt, just so I don't get any surprises with my stitches or anything. So that's that. That's the step before I actually load my basted quilt onto the machine. Since I've already done all that before filming, now what we're going to do is start quilting, right? So let's go. So I have my gloves on here. So typically what I would do, these are super smoothened out, they're basted. So this is the basting spray that I use to baste my quilt. It is the Juki TL basting spray. It works great. I have been using this since I started free motion quilting. I've used other brand, but this works better for me, so I stuck to it. I'm a creature of habit. Give it a try. If you like it, good. And if you don't, there are other options. Typically when I'm free motion quilting my quilt, I will start from the middle, okay? And I will push out any kind of pockets so that way when you are done, there's no puckering. Now, it's not 100% guaranteed that there won't be any pucker because you're doing it by hand. It's a handmade product. And if there is, it's not meant to be perfect, and that's okay. If you're starting out and you want to dabble into it, maybe you don't want to do something this big. Maybe you want to start out with like a table runner or like a table topper. That'd be great. I'm using an open toe free motion quilting foot. Here we go. I'm starting out in the ditch, okay? So when I quilt a section, I just push out a little bit so that way I have a control over the quilt. So I just kind of do one of these so that way they're flat, but maneuvering this thing, depending on how big your quilt is a little bit of a arm wrestle. This is where I stop. To continue to go on, I'll just give it a little stitch and then continue. So now what I'm doing is I'm quilting. I started from the center and I'm going to do a quarter of the quilt. So when this first quarter is done, I'll start and then I'll do the next quarter. So I just do it by section. So if you're doing a really big quilt and you feel like it's overwhelming, you could just start that way, start by this section. So when you're finished with that section, you move on to the next section. And then when you're finished, you move on to the next section and then you can finish. There is nothing wrong with going to a long arm and getting it done. A lot of my quilts get done by long arm, but when it's something this small, I tend to want to do it myself because it also sharpens my knowledge. It helps me grow in my free motion quilting ability. So I'm just encouraging and inspiring you today that you can do it. It just takes a little bit of a try on your part. Okay, so let's go. Let's just continue here. I have this to do in right here. This is all quilted around here. So I have in here to quilt, right? So what I'll do is go inside, quilt in here, come back out. So that way I don't get myself in trouble and trap myself in. I'm not going to quilt here. I'll just travel this way and then come back out and break my thread right here on the outside of the quilt. Okay. I am on the batting. What I'll do is break my thread and then move on to another section. So this is the middle of the quilt. So I'm going to start on the ditch right here for my next half. With all this, I'm just doing meandering all over the quilt. I'm not sure if you can see my thread very well. I chose like a like this is my thread right here. It's like a variegated gray, darker gray, very light gray. So you can't really see the thread all that much. You can see the quilting, but the thread is not really standing out that much. So this is what I use for majority of my quilts. I use the Orifil 2600, which is like really, really light gray. And I use, this is a Metler thread and it's a variegated gray. I don't know the name of it, but I got this from my local quilt shop. I'm going to start on the ditch right here, lock in my stitch like that, and then go. So now I have completed free motion around the pumpkin and this little white part right here. That's just because I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I've decided what I am going to do is just quilt around here, teeny tiny free motion quilting. And now I'm going to just do a little bit of free motion quilting around on the white part. I can do bubbles, but my bubbles, honestly, you guys, it looked terrible. That's the part that I need to grow on. So, but now I'm just going to do tiny free motion quilt on this part. I will meet you here when I finish this part. Okay, here we go. Now the entire free space of the pumpkin space are all quilted. It's not perfect, but like I said, the more you practice, the better it's going to be. I try to do this a little bit more tighter meandering, so that way it gives it a little definition. The pumpkin part, I'm going to switch the thread from the variegated gray to a more of exactly this color right here, the orange. Here is the orange thread, orange bobbin. I am going to give it a try in giving this pumpkin a little bit of a definition. Here we go. So I'm not sure if you can see that. So this is what I have done to the pumpkin. I just kind of gave it a little bit of a wood kind of stitch to it where it's going up and down and not completely, just free-handed the pumpkin. So hoping you can see that. I use a matching thread and that's why it looks like this. You can't really see the quilting. So I'm gonna go on and complete the rest of it and then meet you back here, okay? So I went on ahead and put the quilt upside down so that way I can have a better wiggle room on this side because of my throw space. It really doesn't matter because I'm going like in a woodsy fashion. It does, because I'm just going up and down, not straight, just kind of semi-straight. I'm just going to quilt this pumpkin upside down. So here we go. So all the pumpkins are completed. You can hardly see the thread. So that's what it looks like up close. That's kind of what I did. It's kind of like a woodsy kind of stitch, just very organic. So that's kind of like what I wanted to do. So that way this pumpkin can kind of stand out from the meandering that I did throughout the quilt. It's something different. Like I said, I'm not perfect. This is just me doing it on, like free motion quilt, trying to get better at, what I do. We're not done, right? We are not done. I'm going to wind another bobbin that is brown, and I'm going to do the same thing with the stem, okay? I've changed to a brown thread to quilt the brown fabric part. I'm going to attempt to quilt the stem part just so I can match the thread color and it just kind of look cohesive at the end of the day. Okay, so here we go. So I just kind of went in a circular motion with the stem and it's just really, really dense. I'm going to move on to the next one. You can't really see the thread because I think it matches a little too perfect. I'm just going to move on to the next one. So now we are on to our last pumpkin stem. Oh my goodness. Never thought we'd finish, right? That was the last stitch. So the quilt is quilted. Let me show you what I was talking about. I'm going to bring it up close with the pumpkin. So this is the pumpkin. This is the way I have quilted it. I'm not sure if you guys can see it on camera. I just did a woodsy kind of up and down situation right there. As far as the stem, I found a perfect brown thread to match this. I just kind of went in a circular motion and being careful not to bleed the brown into my cream fabrics. That will be bad. So that's what I've done. I'm gonna stand up now and show you what it looks like, all quilted. Okay, so this is it right here, quilted and done. So this is the pumpkin right there, like that. I think I'll take a picture of it and I will just put it in my community tab so you guys can see it. Just like I have promised, I have completed the quilt. It's all quilted. I hope this has encouraged you and inspired you to try something that you have never done or something that you're comfortable with. This is something that I'm not 100% comfortable with. My free motion quilting ability is not the best, but I was willing to give it a try. I was willing to do it on film. I mean, I've free motion quilt a lot of my quilts, but it's not the best. But I have stepped out of my comfort zone to kind of encourage and inspire you to attempt to quilt your own quilt. It's great sending it to long arm, but it can add up. It's pricey. It's not cheap. So maybe sometimes you can kind of like, if it's a small quilt, you can, do a straight line, or dabble into free motion like a meandering like I just did with this one. It's not going to be perfect, but by the time you wash it and it gets crinkly, and nobody's going to know that it's not perfect. So I just want to encourage you to give it a try in your sewing room. So with that being said, thank you so much for joining me today at my nest, and I hope to see you in my next video. You have a great day. Bye.